My name is Eric Brinkman. I'm the VP of Product here at DataGrail. And I have the pleasure of leading our product and design teams while being responsible for our product strategy and vision. In short, I have the best job in the world. I'm excited to share about the future of data privacy and how DataGrail will help to shape it. But before I begin, a quick story. A few years back, I was shopping at a local retailer, and I checked out, and I got the question, do you want to get a paper receipt or an emailed receipt? And well, I don't really like a lot of clutter in paper, so I just went ahead and selected email receipt. About 3 hours later, I somehow got subscribed to their newsletter. And I was like, how did this happen? I didn't get asked for that. I don't want that. I don't like physical clutter, and I certainly don't like digital clutter. I typically unsubscribe to most newsletters unless it's really near and dear to my interests. And I think that really broke my personal trust for this retailer. Now, I'm not going to name this retailer, of course, but you may be wondering, do I still shop with this retailer? And the answer is yes, but sometimes. But I will tell you, I never get a digital receipt anymore. It's always physical. I think about this, and I think about trust and transparency, consent preferences, all the things we've talked about today, and I'm excited to share with you the future of data privacy from our perspective. You know, as Daniel mentioned at the start of the day, where there's trust, brands win, and we're free to innovate. Today, I'm going to share how DataGrail is helping to build trust and allowing our customers to win. And while we're building an experience of trust is continually evolving around us. According to Gartner, the percent of the global population protected by modern privacy laws will reach 75% by the end of the year. That's up from 10% in 2020. So that's a huge increase in just a short amount of time. This is primarily driven by the introduction of 60 new privacy laws. And in fact, I think there's 20 states or so that have a privacy law that is currently in effect. Now, I live in Texas. That law just went into effect on July 1st. And I'm pretty sure no one's ready for it, just like no one was ready for GDPR in 2018. And guess what? There's going to be a lot more that come. And each year, a federal law likely gets introduced. And I'm sure we'll see one of those soon here in the United States as well. But additionally, people's expectations are changing, as we've heard. There's a firm belief people should have the ability to dictate how their personal information is being used, whether that's on traditional systems or in generative AI. And people are choosing to share information about themselves with certain brands and allowing that information to be used to customize their experience with that brand. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing. In fact, it can be a great thing. But the key word is that you've chosen to give your information to those brands. And the last thing is that people want choice and control. They buy from brands that they trust. But losing that trust can happen overnight, as we've seen time and time again. You've seen this stat before. 75% of organizations fail to actually respect your tracking consent preferences. Put simply, their consent selection is ignoring it's their preference. It's not working at all. Now, I find it hard to believe that this many companies actually don't want their thing to work. So what's going on here? Well, it's probably a configuration issue, or maybe the technology hasn't been tested quite appropriately. But the interesting thing here is that on top of the tech not working, 71% of people say that they would stop purchasing from a company if they knew that tech wasn't working. That's crazy. So now you have a data privacy trust issue that's turned into a business problem. But come on, we have to think people are rational, right? They want to build trust, and they know that lack of trust hurts their business outcome. So what's going on here? Well, it's complicated. I mean, just look at the tangle of systems and processes and integrations and tasks that are required to manage a pristine privacy program. For every data subject request that comes in, I mean, hundreds, if not thousands of tasks have to be completed where you're integrating with systems or going into a system to remove or access data. The status quo of spreadsheets does not cut it anymore, as we know. Enter DataGrail, a complete platform that simplifies data privacy. We ensure accurate processing, transparent consent preference selections, and our platform serves as a single source of truth for privacy, removing complexity, streamlining your privacy operations. Now, let me share a little bit about our internal vision statement with you. This is our product vision statement. To us, a product vision statement lives on a 5 to 10 year timeline. It should be aspirational, and it's something that you close your eyes and you think about what you want to accomplish, okay? So here's our vision. We want DataGrail to be a complete and lovable data privacy platform that is a cornerstone in a best-in-class risk management ecosystem. So if I close my eyes and envision DataGrail years from now, I think of the world's most complete and mature and automated data privacy platform, helping our customers to build trust and reduce their risk. Now, the second half of that statement is interesting. Let's talk about the ecosystem. What's required for you to actually run a company in today's world? Well, you need an identity provider, and you need a compliance provider. You need governance tools. You need cybersecurity tooling. You need a pen testing program. You also need a data privacy platform. And so the second part of our vision is that DataGrail becomes the de facto standard for that data privacy pillar. Let's take a deeper look into what we provide today, in case you might not be as familiar with DataGrail as everyone here. So, as of this year, we can actually proudly state that we are a complete data privacy platform. And instead of wide and shallow coverage, we go deep on 4 pillars of data privacy. So that's data discovery and mapping, data subject request management, consent management, and privacy risk assessments. And all of these capabilities are built on our platform, powered by our patented risk intelligence technology, and the biggest integration network in the industry with over 2,000 integrations into various systems. With DataGrail, you have the peace of mind that we're constantly detecting, automating, and monitoring your data privacy program, and we'll be there to grow and scale with you as your privacy program evolves. And we've been busy working on our product and evolving it, and I'd like to share some of those updates with you. First, we have responsible data discovery. This is an offering that we launched at the end of last year that allows for a secure and accurate data discovery and classification of internal systems as well as third-party systems like Salesforce, HubSpot, and so forth. You clearly need to know what systems you have, but of course then you want to know what data is in those systems. So this helps you go a little bit deeper to identify exactly the types of sensitive information you would have in various places. We also do this in a very responsible way by minimizing the data that we collect. We put it through an ML classification engine, and we don't actually look at the data, but we can tell you exactly the type of data that you have in these places. Privacy workflows. If you're using our data subject request management product, what we call Request Manager internally, we've made a huge improvement to this with the ability of privacy workflows for you to take custom actions and apply rules, and to automate the fulfillment of DSRs. Tons of really cool things you can do with this. One of the most popular ones is the processing of an employee DSR versus a consumer DSR, because those require different sets of rules and logic. Earlier this year, in fact, just a few months ago, we shipped DataGrail Consent, which is our first-party consent product. Now, you just heard an amazing panel talk about consent and the future of consent. We're going to talk about that a bit more as well. But this has been one of our fastest-growing products. And of course, it sits alongside the rest of our platform. Oh, and by the way, it actually works. It blocks the things that we talked about earlier, where 75% of those don't actually block. And then AI governance. You can utilize DataGrail to implement the start of an AI governance program. So this is about detecting shadow IT, managing data subject requests against those systems, and completing Gen AI data privacy assessments, utilizing our built-in AI assessment template. And while we're excited about what we've accomplished, don't take my word for it. Here's a quote from Brandon Greenwood, the CISO of Bed Bath & Beyond. Think about it. It's all about gaining trust with your customer base, and we want to enable that. And we're very proud of the work that we're done, but we are never resting. We're always building, we're always innovating, and we're always shipping features. We have a monthly delivery cadence here at DataGrail, and it's really fun to see new value come out every single month amongst our teams. Let's dive into the future of data privacy and trust. Now, the art of product management and what makes my job so amazing is that it's all about solving customer problems. It's simple. It's hard, but it's simple. And we do that by creating value and then connecting customers with that value. Rick Arney, I think you all probably recognize his name, co-author of CIPRA, basically says that data privacy is a customer problem that remains unsolved, and that complexity is the enemy of progress here. Consumers are unsure of the steps they need to take to safeguard their privacy, and businesses are unsure of what to do to avoid litigation in a hot regulatory landscape. I love that quote because it sets us up nicely to frame this problem. You see, today, consumers are presented with a constant barrage of privacy and consent requests as they engage a brand through websites, mobile apps, email, so forth. And once you've made a choice, you probably have no idea how to go back and actually change that choice or to even see what you've consented to in the first place. So while you might not even know what you've consented to, you also probably don't understand if it's really being respected, as we already talked about in the start of the talk. And this is because there's a lot of people managing this experience. I was talking to a few folks in the room. You have privacy teams, you have marketing teams now, legal teams, security teams. This is a lot of different folks to bring together, of course. And these are all experiences owned by different teams. And there's no unified place for any consumer to manage all of the preferences they have for a given brand. So, quick thought exercise. Now, I don't want to name names, but can you think of a single brand that you engage with on a regular basis where you can confidently say, I know exactly, one, where to go to see what I've consented to with that brand, and then two, where to go to actually change any of those consent preferences? I will be the first to say, I can't. I have no idea. It's a complete black box to me. So we need a completely new approach, and as Tarun hinted in the panel, we call this unified choice, where every choice is in a single place with a personalized experience for consumers and a single control panel for complete visibility and management for brands. We're excited to unveil it to you for the first time right now. You see, unified choice is a key part of our 2025 product strategy, and it will radically simplify how consumers make privacy choices. This completely new approach utilizes the power of the DataGrail platform to centralize those choices across the digital experience. This means you can finally give your consumers a personalized, consistent privacy choice no matter where they interact with your brand. Whether they update the privacy settings in your mobile app, opt out of marketing forms emails on a form, or change the cookie consent preferences, they'll get the same experience and a single privacy center to do that. Meanwhile, your privacy, legal, and security teams have a single pane of glass to see and manage these preferences. So let's take a look at what that could look like. Go ahead and put on your consumer hat. Now imagine you've landed on a website with the brand that you've interacted with before. You've probably already accepted cookies, and you've landed on the page again. At the top, you see a banner here that says, get 15% off your order, sign up for our newsletter. So let's go ahead and do that. We consent to getting that newsletter. We put in our email address, and we click sign up. Now, a few days later, we see the newsletter. Maybe we're unhappy with the content or the cadence, and we don't really want to continue with that newsletter. And now you can probably opt out of that newsletter in a few different ways by potentially clicking unsubscribe on the email. But in this case, we actually want to we want to go to the consolidated privacy center, which we know this brand has because we trust this brand and we know how to interact with them. So we scroll to the footer of the site and we click on Privacy Center. When we do that, we're taken to the company's Privacy Center, where you can see their policy, trackers, and also preferences. So if we click on this big black button on the right, Trust Center, it opens up preferences, showing all of your email preferences. Now, we are not happy with the newsletter, so we're going to go ahead and deselect that one. And while I'm here, I may as well take a look at my cookie management preferences. So I see that I've accepted my cookies in Safari, and I did that a few days ago. But also, what's cool is we see a section for privacy requests. So let's go ahead and click on over there. I'm curious about the info that this company has on me. You know, an access request for a DSAR, you know, is something that typically is not done very often, but I think should be brought to the forefront of the experience. I would love to know the data that most brands have on me. But unfortunately, most laws actually say that you really have to provide this in a 30 or 45-day time frame, okay? So let's go ahead and see what the future of an access request could look like. So I'm going to fill this out. I see the request has been submitted. And then 3 days later, I can come back and actually see this data. 3 days, wow, is that a long time or a short time? Well, I'm here to tell you, most of these are done right in the nick of time. 45-day delivery, 30-day delivery, based on whatever legislation that you're beholden to. We think that there's a world where there's a programmatic pull of this data that is pulled right in line in the experience. Why? Because it provides transparency, it provides trust, and real time is going to be a big part of our strategy moving forward. And over time, we envision this experience not to be just 3 days, because maybe there's a manual check that needs to go out, but instantaneous. Now, let's flip to the DataGrail platform. So this is the other side of the experience. This is what the DataGrail users would see, okay? I know this is a little bit busy, but bear with me. I'll try to narrow it in. So I log in, and I see 2 call to actions at the top of this page. Let's focus in on this one. I see one that says Preference Manager. I see that there are 300 updates here, and I should review those updates. I also see that those choices have increased by 16% over the 7 days. So there might be something to dig into here. If I click into that, what I see is that I can go into an individual user, and I can see all of their choice selections over here on the right-hand side. We can, in fact, see that Hannah did unsubscribe from the newsletter, and we have an insight as well that many others are doing this. Maybe you want to consider the cadence or the content of that newsletter. We can also see that she submitted her privacy request, and that was completed on time with an automated workflow. And then we can also see cookie management selections, when those were made and how they were made. As you can see, we believe the consent management space must evolve to encompass all choices a user makes when sharing their data with a brand, from cookies to communication preferences. Unified choice. And as Rick says in a continuation of his quote from earlier, consent shouldn't feel like a roadblock. Instead, consent should establish trust dialogue with users. We're so excited to roll out these features, as you saw, as part of our vision for unified choice over the next few months. This is not a 5-year mock-up experience that we just provided to you. This is something we're actively building and working on, and really excited to get your feedback early. Now, keen-eyed observers may have noticed another call to action at the top of the dashboard. This one's related to risk detection. And as you can see, there's a new AI model that we've detected that you should probably take a look at. But before we dive into that, let's talk about risk intelligence. With risk intelligence, we're taking an automated approach to discovering, monitoring, and managing privacy risk. We're building a world where privacy risk is constantly detected and can be managed in a seamless and efficient way. And if you look at where risk intelligence is highlighted, it's right at the center of all of the privacy pillars. It underpins everything that we do and every experience that we provide. So let's go ahead and take a look. We're back on the same screen. Let's click on that button that says Explore Risk. Here, we've landed on the system profile page for that particular system. Now, this is busy, and so I do apologize, but it provides a lot of information. But in particular, what we see here is that in the risk register, we notice that there is a new AI model that's been detected, and that's listed as new. We see that it has impacted the risk of this system, putting the risk of the system up into the high category, and we don't have a mitigation status started. So let's go ahead and click into that. Now, we can see that we detected this company updated its privacy policy and its subprocessor list. It's now using OpenAI. We provide a few options for risk mitigation, including completing an AI risk assessment or queuing this particular system up for enhanced data discovery and classification via our responsible data discovery product. So if we go ahead and complete one of those actions, what we'll see, mitigation status now implemented with a nice green check mark over there. We see the risk, which was high in both of the boxes on the top, has now gone down to moderate. And while this system may not be out of the woods yet, and we'll probably need to keep an eye on it, we're now aware of it, and we know that this system is utilizing OpenAI as a subprocessor, and we have a good understanding that it's using AI, and that we may need to manage that risk of that system a little bit differently. If there's one thing to remember from today, it's that we're on a mission to achieve our vision. While we shared a snapshot of what's to come, we're also continuously maturing the other elements of our platform based on customer, prospect, and market feedback. In short, we're trying to make our dent in the universe by creating that complete and lovable data privacy platform. I'm so thankful that each of you have joined us today. Thank you so much for your time.